Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to talk to you tonight about a truth so simple, yet so powerful, it can change the very currents of your life. Money, like the tide, flows naturally to those who understand the laws that govern it. You see, wealth is not chased. It is attracted. It is drawn to the mind that thinks in harmony with abundance, the heart that expects prosperity without fear, and the spirit that knows giving and receiving are but two sides of the same golden coin. Money is a spiritual idea, not a material chase. When you understand this, you begin to see money in its true form, not as pieces of paper, coins, or numbers on a screen, but as an expression of divine supply. In the realm of spirit, everything already exists in abundance, and money is simply one of the channels through which that abundance flows. The material form of money is just the shadow of the real substance, and the real substance is invisible, boundless, and ever-present. People who think of money only in terms of what they can see and hold are living in limitation, chasing shadows instead of aligning with the source. The person who grasps the spiritual nature of money stops running after it and begins attracting it, because they are in tune with the law that governs its manifestation. Money in the physical world is only the evidence of an inner condition. It is the outer picture of your inner belief. If you believe that money is scarce, that it is hard to come by, that you must struggle and sacrifice endlessly to earn it, then you unconsciously push it away from yourself. But when you know that money originates from an infinite source, you stop fearing lack. You understand that wealth is not something you wrestle from the world. It is something that flows through you as naturally as breath when you are aligned with the truth. The mind that understands this principle stops seeing money as an idol to be worshipped or an enemy to be mistrusted. Instead, money becomes a servant, a tool, a willing messenger that goes where it is sent and returns multiplied when used with wisdom and faith. This is why some people, without apparent effort, always seem to have enough, and more than enough, while others labor endlessly and never prosper. The difference lies in consciousness, not in circumstance. Prosperity begins in the unseen, in thought, in belief, in the words you speak over your life. When you recognize money as a spiritual idea, you also release the fear of losing it. Loss is an illusion in the spiritual realm, for the source from which money flows cannot be depleted. Just as the ocean cannot be drained by dipping out a cupful, the divine supply is not diminished when you spend or give. Instead of clutching tightly to what you have, you begin to circulate it freely, knowing that circulation is the very nature of wealth. Money is meant to move, to flow, to go out and come in. The stagnant pond breeds decay, but the flowing river is always fresh. This understanding frees you from the endless treadmill of striving and struggling. You stop measuring your worth by your bank balance, because you know that your true wealth is in your connection to the infinite. You realize that money flows as a reflection of your faith, your gratitude, your willingness to give and receive. The invisible law responds to your inner state, and when you live in alignment with abundance, consciousness, the outer evidence must follow. What you expect, you attract. The law of expectation is as sure and unchanging as the law of gravity, yet most people go through life unaware that it is at work in every moment. Expectation is not merely wishful thinking. It is the deep, inner conviction about what will happen, the quiet assumption that shapes your reality before any action is taken. The universe responds not to what you say you want, but to what you truly believe will come to pass. When your expectation is rooted in fear, you draw to yourself the very experiences you dread. When it is anchored in faith, you magnetize blessings, opportunities, and abundance. Expectation operates below the surface of conscious thought, which is why it is so powerful. You may declare affirmations with your lips, but if in your heart you are bracing for disappointment, that hidden belief will shape your outcome. People often think they are unlucky, cursed, or doomed to repeat the same cycles, but what they are really experiencing is the faithful return of their own expectations. Life is a mirror, reflecting back to you the images you hold most steadily in mind. You cannot plant seeds of lack and harvest abundance, nor can you sow fear and reap peace. The mind is like a garden, and expectation is the gardener's hand deciding which seeds are planted, watered, and nurtured. Each thought of doubt is a weed that strangles prosperity. Each thought of confident anticipation is a seed of wealth, love, and joy. You may not see immediate results, just as a farmer does not see crops the day after planting, but the unseen process is at work. The soil of life is always fertile. It will grow whatever is planted in it, whether that be thorns or roses. Expectation is not arrogance, it is alignment. To expect good is to harmonize yourself with the infinite source of good. It is to walk into each day with the unshakable knowing that life is for you, not against you. This inner certainty influences your words, your actions, and even your posture, and others respond to it in ways that open doors. The person who expects to be welcomed walks into a room differently than the one who expects rejection. The one who expects profit makes decisions from confidence, not fear, and this confidence becomes magnetic. When your expectation is high and rooted in trust, you begin to notice how life organizes itself around your belief. People appear at the right time, resources show up without struggle, and situations align with your vision. The energy you project is like a beacon, calling forth experiences that match your dominant thought. If you carry the expectation that abundance is your birthright, you will naturally be drawn to ideas, opportunities, and actions that support prosperity. Shifting your expectation is a matter of persistent thought discipline. You must replace the inner whispers of, "It won't happen for me," with the steady voice of, "It is already mine." You must hold this belief through appearances that seem to contradict it, for expectation is not swayed by temporary evidence. It is the cause of the evidence yet to come. Fear blocks the flow of prosperity. Fear is the great dam that stops the river of abundance from reaching you. It paralyzes action, clouds judgment, and sends out a vibration that repels the very good you are seeking. Fear is not merely an emotion. It is a form of faith, but faith in the wrong direction. It is belief in loss, in lack, in failure, in the possibility that life will not provide for you. Just as faith draws to you the things hoped for, fear calls forth the things dreaded. The mind that is filled with fear closes the channel through which supply flows, for it is not in harmony with the limitless nature of the universe. Fear often disguises itself as caution, as being realistic, as simply preparing for the worst. Yet these are just polished names for the same destructive force. When a person holds onto fear, they shrink their possibilities and attract more of the same situations that feed the fear. The universe mirrors back what is most strongly held within. If you believe danger lurks around every corner, you will find it. If you believe opportunities are scarce, you will miss them even when they stand before you. Prosperity is a current, a movement of energy that requires openness and trust to receive. Fear, on the other hand, is contraction. It pulls you inward, makes you hold tightly to what you have, and convinces you that there is not enough to go around. This creates stagnation. The fearful person may hoard, but their hoarding is not security. It is a signal to the universe that they expect loss, and thus they keep their life in a state of scarcity. Fear interrupts the natural law of circulation, the same law that governs the flow of blood in the body or the tides of the sea. What does not circulate dies. Fear also clouds the vision, so that even when solutions and opportunities present themselves, the mind cannot see them clearly. Fear says, "It won't work," before any attempt is made. It says, "You will fail," before the first step is taken. It imagines obstacles where there are none and magnifies the smallest challenge into a towering wall. In this way, fear robs the individual of inspired action, and without action, the chain of creation is broken. The person who would live in prosperity must learn to replace fear with faith, for these two cannot occupy the same space. Faith opens the gates, fear closes them. Faith says, fear is enough. Fear says, it is running out. Faith gives freely, knowing more will come. Fear clutches, convinced it will be the last. The more you dwell on fearful thoughts, the more real they become to you, and the more you unconsciously create the conditions that match them. Fear is a self-fulfilling prophecy, a magnet for the very experiences you wish to avoid. It cannot produce prosperity, because prosperity is born of expansion, of expectation, of a mind and heart open to receive. Gratitude multiplies wealth. Gratitude is more than polite words or momentary appreciation. It is a state of consciousness that recognizes the abundance already present and opens the way for more to come. When you live in gratitude, you shift your attention from what is lacking to what is already here, and in doing so, you align yourself with the frequency of prosperity. The mind that constantly sees only what is missing sends out a signal of dissatisfaction, which draws more experiences to match that vibration. But the mind that dwells in thankfulness creates an open channel for blessings to flow in greater measure. Gratitude transforms the smallest possession into a treasure and the simplest meal into a feast. It changes the tone of your inner dialogue from complaint to praise, from doubt to trust. In the realm of spiritual law, like attracts like, and to focus on the good you have is to call forth more good. The person who wakes each morning and gives thanks for life, health, and opportunity begins their day in harmony with the principle of increase. Just as a farmer who tends to the crops with care receives a bountiful harvest, so does the soul that nurtures its blessings with gratitude reap more to be grateful for. Ingratitude, on the other hand, shuts the door to increase. When you overlook your blessings or take them for granted, you signal to the universe that you do not value what has been given. What is unappreciated diminishes, not because the source of supply has weakened, but because your own energy has shifted to one of lack. Gratitude is the magnet that pulls abundance towards you, while ingratitude pushes it away. When you practice gratitude consistently, you begin to see wealth in forms you had previously ignored. You notice opportunities hidden in plain sight, relationships that enrich your spirit, and resources that can be used creatively to bring more into your life. This heightened awareness naturally leads to inspired action, and action taken in a spirit of gratitude carries a different energy, an energy that attracts support, cooperation, and favorable circumstances. Gratitude also softens the heart, dissolving envy and comparison. Instead of resenting the success of others, you give thanks that such success exists in the world, knowing that what you bless increases, even for yourself. By celebrating the abundance around you, you affirm that you are part of that same flow, and in affirming it, you strengthen your connection to it. The grateful person understands that wealth is not confined to money alone, but is expressed in health, ideas, friendships, and moments of joy. To live in gratitude is to declare with every thought and feeling that you are already rich, and the universe responds to that declaration by bringing more richness into your life. Each act of thankfulness builds upon the last, creating a momentum of prosperity that grows stronger with every expression of appreciation. Gratitude is both seed and harvest, both the beginning and the increase, a continual circulation of giving thanks and receiving more to be thankful for. Giving opens the door to receiving. The act of giving is not merely a moral gesture or a charitable deed. It is participation in the eternal law of circulation. All of life operates in a rhythm of outflow and inflow. The breath we take, the tides that rise and fall, the seasons that change. To withhold is to interrupt that rhythm, to dam the current of prosperity. When you give freely, you signal to the universe that you trust in the abundance of your source, and that you are not afraid to let go, knowing more will come in return. Giving is a declaration of faith. It affirms that supply is infinite and that you are connected to it. The fearful mind clings to what it has, believing that to release anything is to diminish itself. But in truth, holding tightly only creates stagnation. Like water that must flow to remain fresh, wealth must circulate to remain alive. When you release part of what you have, be it money, time, kindness, or skill, you keep the channels of your own prosperity open. The spirit in which you give matters as much as the act itself. Giving from a sense of guilt or obligation carries no power to multiply. It is the joyful, willing gift that opens the way for increase. When you give with a full heart, you are in alignment with the creative force of the universe, and that force cannot return to you void. The measure you use in giving becomes the measure used in your receiving, for the law returns to you what you send out, pressed down and running over. Giving also expands the mind beyond the narrow confines of self-interest. It lifts you into a consciousness where you recognize your role in the greater whole, where you see that your prosperity is linked to the prosperity of others. In blessing others, you bless yourself. For you cannot cause increase for another without also planting the seed of increase in your own life. This is why acts of generosity often return in ways far exceeding the original gift. The return may not always come from the same source, but it will come, for the law is unfailing. Those who live in fear of lack often wait to give until they feel secure, but the security they seek never arrives because they have closed the gate through which their own blessings might enter. Giving is not something you do when you have extra. It is the act that creates the extra. It is the planting of seeds that ensures the harvest. Even the smallest act of generosity begins the cycle of multiplication, for the universe responds to the intention and spirit behind the act, not the size of it. In giving, you take your eyes off limitation and fix them on abundance. You affirm that there is enough to go around, enough to share, enough to sustain all. This mental and spiritual posture draws more to you, for you have aligned yourself with the law that governs all increase. When you open your hand to give, you have also opened it to receive, and in this continual exchange, the flow of prosperity grows ever stronger. Words and thoughts are magnets for money. Every word you speak and every thought you hold carries a vibration, and that vibration is constantly attracting to you its matching experiences. The mind is a broadcasting station, sending out signals into the unseen, and those signals draw back conditions, people, and circumstances that resonate with them. If your thoughts dwell on shortage, struggle, and impossibility, you will find yourself surrounded by situations that reflect those very ideas. If your words are filled with affirmation, abundance, and expectancy, you create a magnetic field that draws wealth toward you with unerring precision. Many people underestimate the power of their speech, treating words as if they vanish into the air the moment they are spoken. But words are seeds, and the world is the fertile soil in which they are planted. Every complaint plants a seed of more to complain about. Every declaration of lack plants a seed of more lack, and every affirmation of abundance plants a seed of more abundance. The harvest is inevitable, for the law does not discriminate between positive and negative. It simply brings forth the fruit of whatever is sown. Thoughts are the root, and words are the flowering of those thoughts. The words you habitually speak reveal the beliefs you hold deep within, and those beliefs set the pattern for your financial life. When you continually affirm that money is hard to come by, that opportunities are scarce, that success is for other people, you engrave those ideas into your subconscious mind, which then works tirelessly to make them your reality. Likewise, when you speak of money flowing freely, of opportunities opening, of success being inevitable, you impress these ideas upon your inner mind, and it begins arranging your outer world to match. The magnetic power of words and thoughts is not a mystical exception to life. It is the way life always operates. Electricity flows according to its own laws, and so does the energy of thought. You cannot expect to think and speak poverty, and yet experience prosperity, any more than you can plant thorns and reap figs. The alignment must be consistent, your thoughts, your words, and your actions all moving in harmony toward abundance. Guarding your speech and disciplining your mind are acts of creation. It requires vigilance to catch yourself in a moment of negative talk and replace it with words of power. It requires awareness to recognize a thought of fear and transform it into a thought of faith. Over time, these small shifts build a momentum that changes the entire atmosphere of your life. The more you speak abundance, the more you expect it. The more you expect it, the more it flows to you. Words and thoughts do not merely describe reality, they shape it. They are the invisible architects of your financial future, the silent sculptors that mold the conditions you will live in tomorrow. To treat them carelessly is to surrender your creative power. To use them deliberately is to set in motion the forces that draw money, opportunities, and success into your life with unwavering certainty.